Well, hey there, gardening friends. It's Friday night, down in the basement, enjoying some time while the girls are upstairs watching a girly movie. And that's all fine and dandy. But I wanted to bring you along tonight as we planted these or started these like last weekend in the Ziploc bags. And I would think that most of them would have sprouted by now, uh, in particular since I raised the heat. So I'm kind of going through the packets and I'm kind of torn because I don't want to go much longer without having anything started. Yeah, because peppers take about 8 weeks. They kind of grow a little slow and they take a long time to produce veggies anyway. Um, so I want to try to get them going. At the same time, I didn't want to start them too early because then you got another problem on your hands. So tried this Ziploc method, and I've had success with it before, but for whatever reason, most of these packets are not very well sprouted, and I don't. Maybe it needs to be warmer. Maybe we're right on the cusp of them breaking out of their little seed coats, but maybe. I mean, there's some that look like they're protruding here. But I'm about to chalk this up as a seed starting failure. I would have expected them to sprout by now. So I think what I'm going to do at this point, because I think the seeds are good. I mean, I saved a lot of this from last year. We got some new ones. There's a few that aren't like brand spanking new, but um, I'm pretty sure they're viable, and I've got some that are starting a little bit. What I'm going to do tonight is go ahead and transfer them over to the pots. Like, just fill the pot with the potting mix, lay the seeds in there. If there's any that has a little, root that's popped out, make sure that's facing down. I don't want to plant that upside down because then that you could kill it. Um, Cover them and then water them in and then set the lid on it and see what happens. And hopefully I get the rest of these to sprout and we can get to potting some stuff. Well, hey Tom, what's up, man? It's just lamenting the fact that I don't have a lot of sprouts yet, and they should have sprouted by now. It looks like they want to, but I don't know. So my patience has run out. I'm gonna transfer them over to the regular pots because who knows? Maybe I'm smothering them. I'm thinking maybe I just didn't have it warm enough, long enough that I should have started them at 90 degrees to begin with rather than flipping it over. When did I do that? Like Tuesday or Wednesday? Anyway, I'm a little disappointed because we're at the beginning of April. We still got time, but I think what's going to be really disappointing is if I transplant these over into the pots and I still don't get anything, then I'm going to be really disappointed. Then I'm probably going to have to, get plants, depending on how much time, further I go. I don't know. So that's kind of what's going on tonight. Watered in, let's see. Yeah. And I've done the paper towel deal where like once I planted the seeds in, as far as top watering, um, would water have a paper towel or permeable cloth or whatever over the seed tray and then water it, and it would water everything, but it wouldn't turn the seeds. Well, hey, you coming to see me? What is it, honey? You want some cheesecake? Let me think about that. Yeah, you can have some cheesecake. Hilarious.
Did you find the tape?
I did not find the tape yet, no.
You could just go buy some.
Well, the stores are closed now, honey. Maybe tomorrow, we'll see. So there's a few. Need to get them out of here because they're starting to root down into the... Oh, well. I already had some cheesecake. That's the problem. It's good, too. Probably had a lot of sugar in it. Probably need to get these out of here anyway because they're starting to root down into the paper towel. I don't want that. I had that problem one year, too, where they got locked in, and when I was trying to separate them, I couldn't separate them real well, and I ended up throwing all that out and starting over. Let's see, there's only 2. Or maybe I can leave them in one more night and just see what I get tomorrow. I mean, worst case scenario. None of them sprout or take off at all. I think Huh. Yeah, when I've started them in trays, like you said, kind of drop a couple in one spot, and if they start coming up, I'd snip off the rest or get rid of them. I think next year, the other thing I can do, maybe this towel is not transferring enough heat. Maybe what I can do is unfold it one layer. It's pretty, show you here. Maybe that's my problem, it's just not getting enough heat. I think it would, but maybe not with it being in a soap saturated paper towel. So let's try it that way. Maybe I'll give it one night. And and then open these up tomorrow and see if there's any progress at all. And then if so, we'll let them go. But if not, then I'll move them out. We'll just single fold it. Take our probe here. Let's go that route. We'll give them some time. So, any big plans this weekend, Tom? I know you were working on that Sandra's, her brother's truck. Is she a good paying customer? Went to the grocery store tonight and they've added a few things to the checkouts. They've got this like plexiglass shield now for the cashiers, and then all the debit credit machines were wrapped in a baggie to protect the keys, so they, less risk of contamination. And there really weren't a lot of people in the store. We went about 7 o'clock. Because apparently Monday is when they're going to start having, enforcing, at least I think Monday's when they're going to start having stores kind of try to regulate how many people are in the store at one time and all of that. So we went ahead and just knocked it out tonight, so we don't have to worry about it the rest of the weekend or next week. Normally we would go to Kroger and Aldi's, do a lot of it at Aldi's, and then go to Kroger, but here lately my wife's been inclined to just do it all at Kroger and kind of limit exposure instead of being in 2 stores, just being in the one and getting stuff. And there were definitely more people wearing face masks tonight and all of that. But so I don't know, it's gonna be interesting. Talked to my brother tonight. Yeah. I think the other thing too is that since more people are limited, the money that they were spending eating out and socializing and all that, they're spending it on groceries now. So that's also kind of maybe part of why they're having trouble keeping things in stock, because people are just buying more stuff. There's more people buying stuff as well as people buying more stuff. We found pretty much everything we were looking for, but some of the stuff we had to get in like a larger size than what we maybe really wanted. Like canola oil, for example. Like all the regular size bottles that like you would normally buy, or most people would normally buy, were sold out, but the big container of it, we ended up having to get that. Yeah, last time, I know this past summer when they had the chuck roast, buy one get one free, you bought what, $600 worth of meat? Get lard. We made some cinnamon pork roast tonight in the crock pot works out pretty well where you get the pork roast and then glaze it with this cinnamon and brown sugar and is it chili pepper or it's something a little spicy anyway. You do this dry rub all over it and let it cook all day long, and it ends up being really nice. And usually have a lot of leftovers on that where we can do a couple different meals on it. Works out pretty good. Tomorrow I'm going to be trying to get out to Dad's house. He's got this shed project. Oh no, the cinnamon and sugar is what makes it good. It cooks down to this crust and it's really good. The dog likes it. I ended up giving her some scraps tonight. We're going to be heading over to my dad's this weekend. At least I'm anticipating doing that. Yeah, I need to check that out. Maybe order some. Do they sell that at the store, or do you have to order that online? Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out. I got my my seed potatoes. I should go get those real quick. So I got about 20 pounds worth. Tractor Supply was running a deal. They're already starting to sprout too. This is a Kennebec. It's not a bad price. It's $5.99. And I think this is a 5-pound bag. Maybe not, maybe it's like a 3-pound bag, so maybe the price isn't as good, but there's a fair amount of potatoes in there. And I've got a bunch left over. We can walk, I can show you that. We've got some left over. I don't know if you can see that, but they've all sprouted. Lots of sweet potatoes there. And then there's another box underneath of that. So it's time. I need to get, you know, with it being April, it's time to plant potatoes. Yeah, I could probably do that this year, honestly, because I've got not just the ones I bought. I got Kennebec, Yukon Gold, and maybe some red potatoes that we got from Tractor Supply, but red Pontiac. But I've got those 2 peach boxes filled with the small seed potatoes, so it should work out pretty good. They say that for every pound of potatoes you plant, you should get 10 pounds in return if you have a really good year. And we've been able to do that the last couple years. The potatoes seem to grow really well out at Dad's house, though maybe not as well last year. partially because the Colorado potato beetle was pretty bad, and we didn't get out to the garden as often, so they really chewed down the foliage, which I think affected some of the production. Not as good as maybe the first 2 years of doing potatoes. So we may flip back to the north end of the garden. Yeah. Always do, like, dig the furrow and then put my lime in. That seems to do real good, and basically the Mittleider pre-plant mix, and then space them apart about a foot, and then cover it, maybe hill it once and just let it go. And usually it's a pretty good crop. And then, was it 2 years ago? We did a fall crop, I believe. I don't think we did the years are kind of running together, but I don't think we did a fall crop of potatoes last year. We might have done like a late summer crop, but we didn't do a fall crop. But I think it was 2 years ago, we had potatoes in November that we were pulling out of the ground. So that might be one of these years where we'll try to do that, try to maximize the garden space and kind of see. Well, I see just a couple of little ants over at that power outlet that I zapped with the cleaner the other night. Not many. There's only like 2 or 3. But that tells me I probably need to zap it again. That cleaner is upstairs. So maybe later tonight I'll come back down and hit it. Yeah. When are you wanting to plant potatoes? Because we could do that. I think I've got enough. Yeah, we could probably arrange that. The other thing I haven't gotten, that I have not gotten this year yet, are my onion plants. I probably do need to order them if I want to have, the fresh onions. I've still got like probably 20 bags of 20 quarts worth of that I put in the Food Saver bags this past season, and it's kind of a challenge. I bagged them up fresh, so when you open up the bag, I mean, literally it kind of fills the kitchen with a pretty pungent onion smell. So much so that my wife doesn't like cooking with them. So that's in part why I've still got so many left in the freezer, because typically if we're using them, it's because I've pulled them out of the freezer when I'm doing some cooking and stuff like that. So I have to give that some thought. Maybe I'll do a different crop, or I'll do less onions this year because I really don't need them. I'm still stocked up, and being in the Food Saver bags, that stuff's still good. It's not going to go bad anytime soon. My sister's wanting to do okra, so she was asking me about that the other day. I'd suggested to her, like, just direct sow it. Yeah, well, what's it, Dixondale Farms. It's the same place that LDS Prepper got his sets. He had recommended them in one of his old videos, so I checked them out, and I've made videos. You've probably seen the videos because I've grown them at least last 2 years, maybe last 2 or 3 years. I've ordered from there, and they ship. They're basically the onion plants. They're not sets, but they're actually plants that I'm guessing, grow from seed. They're basically onion starts, and they've done the last couple years really well. Just following kind of the Mittleider plan as far as the weekly feed and stuff like that, and they'll bulb up depending on the variety. The variety I've been getting, they get like a tennis ball size. My big problem with them though is curing them. I don't have, like, ideally it'd be nice to have a rack or wires strung up maybe in my dad's pole barn, or a place where it's going to be dry and hot so that it would actually dry the onions out. That's where I've had problems. And one year, I said 2 years ago, I had them up on a makeshift rack out in the backyard. Trying to think, what is it? Onions are kind of like basically like a grass, so they require a lot of nitrogen to get going. And then there's something else to get them bulbed up. Right, and sometimes it's a variety too, because they got the long day, the short day, and then the type that are, good in either hemisphere, basically. Which I think that I typically get the long day or those type. They've got a guide that recommends like what to get, and they actually have a pretty handy guide that shows like how to fertilize them and like what they need and all of that, to kind of make it foolproof. But yeah, you should. It's Dixondale Farms, and they were pretty cheap too. I think it wasn't very expensive to get more than enough, 4 or 5 bunches, and there's probably at least 75 plants in a bunch. It seemed like I got more than enough. I think they said 50 to 100, because it's kind of hard to tell, and some of them are really little, some of them are fatter, but more than enough where I had leftovers. I was able to plant a double row in each of the rows because I had enough. But yeah, so that's kind of. Still got to think about ordering that, but ideally I have a place where I store them, because like I said a couple of years ago, I had a makeshift rack out in the backyard, and then challenge there was we get these rainstorms. So I ended up trying to dry them in the basement, which that didn't work at all because the basement's kind of cool, and they just didn't really dry out. So what I ended up doing was just saying, forget this, I'm gonna run these through the food processor and bag them up, and that's what I ended up doing, rather than risk them going bad. Because the other thing that started happening was they're at the top of the onion and started getting soft, like it was gonna rot. It was rotten, like it wasn't drying out, they were rotting, which didn't, that was no good. So basically just ended up having to process them all and then put them in freezer bags and go through with it that way. So yeah, drying them, that's where I need a better place to do that. Then I think one year, this was at the old house when I was trying to dry them, I would hang them outside, but it wasn't in a dark or like a shaded place, so the sun ended up cooking them. So they're up on the trellis and the sun was beating down, just cooking them. So that didn't work either. It's funny. We may start some other stuff this weekend too. I need to look at my calendar and see what else I want to do with this. We'll move these out, center them up a little bit. So is there anything else that you're, I know you said you're doing tomatoes, you're doing onions, or you want to do onions, potatoes. Was there anything else you were thinking about doing this year? Yeah, we're doing them too. In fact, I got a big old bag of beans. This is a Jade bush beans. I think I ordered like 2.5 pounds. Enough to probably do it twice, you know, sow them twice. We tried doing lima beans the last 2 years and they just took a really long time and didn't get a whole lot out of it. So I don't think we're going to do that this year unless Dad really wants to do that. Kind of bummed that Sunrise Cooperative, you know, closed down. That we don't have that little store to go to anymore. I think they still have a location in South Charleston. Yeah, that's something my wife's kind of hit me up on too, because, you know, typically 4th of July weekend is yeah. But that's the one suggestion she had. She's like, you know, I want to help and all that, but is there any way we can space this stuff out so it doesn't come in all at once? I was like, well, yeah, maybe. Maybe we can do that. Some of the stuff, you know, it's better that it comes in all at once so you can just deal with it and then be done with it, and then you're good. You got your stuff put up for the season. But I could see her point, you know, with like the beans. Tomatoes, I'm kind of doing that already. I'm doing all the indeterminate. The challenge there is I do so many plants that as they're coming in, it's a bunch that's coming in. And so, and usually they start in August, you know, we're into July, you know, but usually typically August, September, beginning of October are just inundated with tomatoes. You know, the point where you get kind of sick of them towards the end. But trying to space it out better. And I've always liked the idea of maybe doing a fall garden, but it's just with the weather the way it is here, it's just not really practical unless you've got protection like a hoop house that you're growing in or greenhouse, you know, but ideally a hoop house or row covers. Yeah. Still got that Vitamix. It's still working really well for that. I may need to get a new blender base though. Um, I mean, it's still working okay, but um, I think it probably worked a little bit better for sure 6 years ago. You know, when the blade's nice and sharp and everything is brand new, as opposed to how it is now with all the kind of abuse that I've put it through. Yeah, food processor. What we got? The Cuisinart. Cuisinart is they make a pretty good one. It's worked out pretty good. It hasn't broken on us yet. You know, I've done processed my onions through it the last couple years. We do cheese for pizza. Where we'll buy the blocks of cheese and run them through. Sometimes stuff for salads. It's worked out pretty good. What are you running through them? Negroologist Powell. Yeah, I started seeds the normal way. I'm starting them both ways. I did my lettuce seed the normal way. I did my brassicas the normal way. The peppers I've been trying to start in these bags and talking with Tom here. Not a lot of success with that just yet. A few little sprouts. You know, we give them one more night under the blanket, and if they don't respond real well, I'll go ahead and put them in the pots and then see what happens. And hopefully get a fair amount to germinate. Worst case scenario, I'll start over next week and try to get some sprouted before, you know, it's time to plant, which would be about the end of May. Me and Tom have been toying around with the Mittlighter gardening method. Well, Tom, I don't know. There's the message that popped up from Negroologist Powell. I don't know if he's still in the chat with us or if she's in the chat with us. All right, Tom. Well, hey, man, have fun making that pizza dough. Always good to chat, man. I'm probably going to jump off here in a little bit, too. We'll see if that other person's still on or not. Yeah, I think they left, too. The person counts one, which is you. It's been kind of funny doing these chats and stuff. I mean, people are checking out the channel and stuff, which is kind of neat. Checking out some of the older videos. For some reason, the Food Saver video has been the one that's been the most popular. I guess there's a lot of people out there that have those machines that are trying to figure them out or whatever. So, all right. Well, hey, we'll maybe next weekend I'll have some potatoes for you or something. We'll try to work something out. And then at some point, I try to get my. Yeah, I should do that because we're going to be using it again here shortly. Works out great. Most recently, my brother-in-law, I guess they're on a meat sale. He brought this big log. It's like a 10-pound log of ground beef. So my daughter helped me. I put on some of the plastic gloves and we cut it up and just kind of eyeballing it, 10 big patties, and put them in the bags. She labeled the bags for me and just fed one after the other into the Food Saver to suck them up, lock them down. Into the freezer they went. So it's pretty handy having that. So, well, I think I'm gonna jump off here, and maybe I'll be on here tomorrow. See how things go. Oh, there's somebody else that's checking out. Now they've checked back out. It may be my daughter. She's on YouTube a lot. Sometimes she'll stalk my channel. All right, man. We'll catch you later.